Hey, check this out. This is the Thule Paramount 27 liter. And it got my attention because it seemed to have all the design and details that one would typically find in bags made by independent bag makers, not mass market makers like Thule, Patagonia, Osprey, North Face. They usually stamp out totally uninspiring bags that all look exactly alike, even within their own lines of packs. So, can this pack compete with the likes of independent bag makers like Green Room 136, Air, Peak Design, or Evergoods? Stick around for this first look to see. So Thule is an interesting pack maker in that they're definitely a mass market company, but some of their packs have a more independent look and design. It seems like Thule is willing to take more risks in their design, and I appreciate this. Incidentally, they even have a pack called the Crossover that got my attention some years ago, and I did pick one up despite the fact that it was really kind of ugly, and it also turned out to be disappointing. Notably, it had really bad zippers, it didn't stand up on its own, and that was when I was just getting into this YouTube thing, so I didn't even make a video for it at the time. And again, that was the old version. They have a new version of the Crossover that I probably need to take a look at. There have been many Paramounts over the years, some with a roll top design, some a little bit larger and some a little bit smaller. Currently, there are two models, a 24 liter and this 27 liter pack. And the 24 liter, it's not a good looking pack. It has a design that reminds me of a folded over brown paper bag, one of those grocery bags. This 27 definitely got my attention because it actually looks good and it seems to have a lot of the fundamental features that I look for in a crossover day pack. It's worth noting that while this pack can be seen on the Thule website, for some reason it's not nearly as easy to find as the other Thule packs. So it's right now February of 2020 when I'm making this video, and this may not be the case when you're viewing this, but right now it's really kind of hard to find this thing. So let's take a look around and see what this pack has to offer its users. So let's take a look here on the front of the pack, as you can see. It does have a flap design here. That's the thing that's most noticeable, although that's not the only way to get access to the main compartment of this bag. Right on the very front here, you can see there's a flap, and behind that is a zippered pocket. And it is not a really super deep pocket. It actually appears to go all the way down to the very bottom here, but it's not quite. It sort of comes up about an inch short here. And it does have some gusseting, giving it some ability to put in something fairly three-dimensional. And right here, I have my cell phone in there, my mobile in there. And by the way, this cover does have magnets that keep it closed up against the zipper itself. Similarly, this flap has magnets, and that will hold this thing flat against the top. But I'm not going to go into that quite yet. I want to draw your attention here to this pocket in the very top. And it also has a little bit of dimension, not too much, but this is how you would delineate that particular pocket right here. So it's a pretty good sized pocket. Look here at the bottom, you can see that there's a pretty nicely coated waterproof tarpaulin here. Though keep in mind that whenever you have seams, that's the point where you're going to have leakage. So you can have all the tarpaulin you want on the bottom, but if you don't have it like a bucket in some sense covering the entire bottom of your backpack, then you probably aren't going to make this thing very waterproof. Let's flip this up onto the side here. And you can see on this side there is what appears to be side access. And it's not quite side access. What this is an organizer pocket here. So typically packs will put their organizer pocket on the front of the bag. Thule, in this case, with the Paramount, they put it on the side of the bag. And you can see here there's a slot for a pen. In this case, I have an Apple Pencil. Another slightly wider slot, I just happen to have a conventional pen in there. And then there's a mesh pocket here, fairly shallow, at a slight of a slant there. And, you know, I typically will throw in my earbud case in there. And then there is another zippered compartment here that does have a hook for you to put a set of keys if you would like. The fact that it doesn't zip all the way down is nice in that you can actually put stuff in here without it falling out if you unzip it. However, it's not great in terms of accessibility. But remember, this is a first look. I'm not assessing this pack. And then if we flip this thing over onto this side, you can see that we have a water bottle pocket. There is a drain hole here in case your water bottle leaks a little bit or even gets a lot of condensation. Will be able to leak out there. There is a not super padded, but a slightly padded side handle here. And then there is a zippered area here. This does bring you into the main compartment, so you can get access to the interior of the bag. And then you can also see there's another zipper here that gives you access to the laptop compartment from the side. So you have external access to the laptop compartment, as well as there being a spot here for an iPad. This would only fit a 10.5, or it doesn't have to be an iPad either. It can be any screen or any type of tablet. I don't have a 10.5-inch iPad. I have a 12.9, so obviously it's not going to fit in here. So I just chose to put my receipts bag in there. This is a 13-inch laptop. You can easily fit a 15-plus inch laptop into this section. It is not lifted off the bottom, but it is heavily padded on the very bottom. And these zippers, they're YKK zippers, but they're pretty narrow gauge. I would say they look like probably 6s. So, and that's the case for pretty much all the zippers here. They run fairly smoothly. All right, so let me flip this onto the front so you can see the suspension system. You'll see here there's a really nicely padded handle up here. It's not on the top of the bag because then you would open up the flap every time you went to grab it, so it's here on the very back. And there is no sternum strap, however, there are a couple loops here, and you can see I've attached my keys and my ID to that. It is adjustable, it's shaped. There's mesh on the back side, so it allows for good ventilation, not too much buildup of sweat. There is, strangely, there's a pocket here and not one on this side, a little pocket. I'm not sure what you'd do. Maybe, I really don't know what you would slide into this pocket. Maybe somebody can write in the comments what they would choose to put in this. It's pretty narrow. It's only about 2 inches by about 4 inches. So you're not talking about a deep pocket. And there's no dimension to it. So it would have to be something pretty flat. And then behind these adjustable shoulder straps, you can see that we do have 2 different places with padding on it, and there's these ridges here and they're covered with foam, so this is going to allow for good ventilation as well. There's also a stripe up the middle, or an empty spot up the middle. It's not particularly deep, so I don't think it's going to offer you a ton in terms of having the chimney effect, but what this does house, as you can see here, is what appears to be a handle, and certainly you could use it as a handle. But this is really for throwing this over your rolling luggage so that you don't have to carry your backpack with you in the airport. Also importantly, there is one of these secret zippers in the back here, little pockets, and I think these things are incredibly handy. This is one of the things that really attracted me to this bag, is having these sort of higher security zippered pockets here for you to put things like your wallet or your passport, etc. Okay, let's take a look on the interior. And by the way, this bag, it's funny. It sort of stands. I mean, you'd have to have this thing fully packed out for it to stand. Right now, because it's not fully packed out, it actually collapses in the front a little bit more, and it's stiff on the back. So as a result, it does flop over. But if I have this bag completely filled out, it actually does stand on its own. You're going to have to believe me on that. I should have showed you that initially. So, you know, it's not as good as other bags at standing on its own, but it's not terrible. It can do the job. All right, so let me go ahead and, again, this flap here is held with magnets, and it can be held in magnets in several places. You can get it pretty low, you can go sort of medium. No, you can't go too high on it. So there's just a few places that you can do that. And if you open up this section, you'll see that right underneath this flap, there is a spot here, a zippered pocket, and this is where I keep my sunglasses. It's padded and it has fleece lining, so you could actually potentially put your sunglasses and then in front of that maybe your phone. So it's a handy pocket to have here. So actually, before I dig into the main compartment, there's one thing I forgot to show you. This is my 21 ounce, is that what that is? 21 ounce Hydro Flask. And just to show you that it slides right in there pretty nicely into the water bottle pocket. There is no sort of really strong thing holding it in there. Usually the top is a little bit more elasticized, not terribly elasticized here. So I do fear that if this pack's not packed out, it actually may bounce out because it slides in so incredibly readily. But at least you know it does fit. You can see here that there are two zippers that open this up. And what's interesting is there's a stop here in the middle, if you can see that. I might have to zoom in. What that means is you can't actually just use this as if there's one zipper. You always have to undo both zippers. However, you'll notice that you can actually dig your finger into this little spot right here and simply just pull it to rip it open. So it ends up not being that big of an issue to get into your bag. The bigger issue is that you have to do both zippers to close the bag. But again, we're not reviewing here. I'm just showing you around. So here we have access to the main compartment. And what's kind of nifty here is you'll see here that there's the compartment for the laptop. So that means you can access this from the side zipper, or you can go into the main compartment and pull this right out the top. And you wouldn't be able to get the iPad out through this way because it only opens through the side, but you can certainly get to your laptop. Interestingly, there's a padded pocket just in front of this laptop pocket, which does accommodate my iPad, but my iPad right now is being used as a monitor, so I can't show you that, but it certainly can slot in there. It does mean that it has to share space with my file folders and papers, so that's kind of a bummer, because just in front of that is indeed another pocket. It's again padded, and it seems like it's ideal for one of those, you know, the 9.7 to 10.5 inch iPads, but it's not wide enough for me to put my file folders in there. So it seems like there's two places for you to put the 10.5 inch iPad. Seems redundant to me. I would have just made one of these things for my papers and such. But you can see here I use it for folded papers. And in front of this, you might be able to see this. I hope you can see it from above. There is a mesh pocket. And this mesh pocket is not zippered. It just opens up. And in there I have my charger for my iPad and for my my laptop. And I also have my name tag in there. And then in the very bottom, I simply have my case, which has my meds and such, and gum, etc. And then my two dongle bags. So there's one, there's number two. And other than that, you can see that there's nothing else here in this interior space. It's made with this bronze gold color, so it's actually pretty nice that you can see into the interior. It reflects light around in there, so you don't lose things at the very bottom of the bag. This is, again, the Thule Paramount, the 27-liter version of their Paramount. And in a couple weeks, I'll certainly be able to give you a full review of this bag after I use it. And until then, go ahead and subscribe and take a look at some of my other videos where I review similar types of crossover day packs, as well as camera bags, shoulder bags, and one bag travel bag options. Okay, so until then, take it easy, folks.